Again, all this clearly showed the things that these electrically driven contrails. I rewrote the books on contrails that are used all around the globe. And also there's some unique characteristics to cloud contrail formation and chemtrails, and forget about that. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you for the kind introduction. I'm going to start off with, as an atmospheric scientist, just like any scientist, the data and results have led me to the electric universe concept. When I start off here, I have to make a disclaimer because I'm with the National Weather Service. I'm part of the government. I'm part of the problem, yes. Okay? My views are mine and not the National Weather Service, especially from what I'm going to say. As I mentioned, this is about experiences of how we are limiting ourselves. The essence of science is about connecting us with humanity. The reason science and humanity are inherently linked is it's about trying to move forward, to discover the truth. The truth has no side. So I'm going to be talking about my personal background linked to the electric universe, and the essence of it being that the data clearly shows from these projects how it basically was lessons learned for success. High-level projects involving cabinet level and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Also from my experiences that I'll talk about my background, 3 suggested examples on how it can possibly suggest the Earth is electrically driven and quantify that. And it's all about connecting with key decision makers and the people. And it's in a very basic sense. That's the key. It's very simple. And some suggestions that we should consider to move forward, because we've got to connect with people. This is the premise. Human nature is always self-serving. It can be selfless or selfish, depending upon the environment or situation cultivated. That's not bad. If you connect with people, you will always get the right results if you follow the truth. Okay. I started off as a B-52 aviator, navigator. I operated the most powerful electromagnetic systems in the United States Air Force as an atmospheric scientist. I got a chance to see firsthand that there was a very dynamic electric environment around the Earth. I was planning on getting out. An aircraft accident allowed me, the Air Force decided to basically allow me to become a scientist in the United States Air Force. Because I was a unique combination, they sent me back to more schooling, and because I was an aviator and an atmospheric scientist, I got involved in the highest level programs in the 80s and 90s in the entire military. One of the first things was nuclear winter. That was basically when the Soviet Union was our adversary, basically going to nuclear war. We found there was a major problem. We identified it, and one of the biggest things is that the models and the assumptions used did not include electricity, and we correctly identified that this was a flaw, and it allowed us to move forward and find results to that. But again, it confirmed that there's an electric nature to everything. So now, because the generals were all very happy, they decided to get me involved in all these future weapon systems. I can talk about a few of them, the B-2, the F-117. But stealth technology deals with the electromagnetic spectrum again. I'm going with a common theme here. And again, I found certain things. Environmental issues are very complex, very dynamic. Everything in the Earth atmosphere system is dynamic. It's just like the universe is dynamic. Because low energy nuclear reaction or cold fusion came about, well, the military is very involved in that because you're dealing with heat anomalies. That affects what they call the concept of the stealthiness. First of all, we were able to prove it was real, and also that it deals with the electromagnetic phenomenon as well. These are all going to the highest levels of the government. Also, I was involved in climate change because it all ties together. Climate change and the electric universe obviously are interrelated. We were involved in battlefield weather, refraction and ducting of the electromagnetic spectrum. You may have heard the expression back in the 80s and 90s, control the weather, control the battlefield. That was an area I was involved in. You don't hear about it anymore because reality is set in versus hope. SDI, Star Wars, this was a very neat thing. We had 3 major hypotheses that the top scientists came up with in my entire 10 years in this area. All of them got blown out of the water. One of them was lasers going through clouds, and the essence being that we determined that instead of the laser was complete plasma, and it basically reassembled itself. It was like a blueprint. It's like the Earth already knows what distribution it wants in terms of atmospheric constituents. That is not the way thermodynamics and our conventional models work. Numerical weather prediction, because I had money, I was able to prove that, well, we already knew the models suck. Pardon me, that's the best way I can put it. They don't work because of the wrong frame of reference. Space weather, again, that's a very big issue. I won't reiterate what Wall, Thornhill, and other people have said. I will just add that, especially when you take the people familiar with solar cycle 22, 23, 24, there's some excellent data that obviously shows that the assumptions that were used for predicting that, again, are flawed. Again, all this clearly showed the things that these electrically driven contrails. I rewrote the books on contrails that are used all around the globe. And also, there's some unique characteristics to cloud contrail formation, and chemtrails, and forget about that. But the point being is that the electromagnetic phenomenon applies there. And we'll talk about that later. And Mount Pinatubo, I happen to be commander there, and besides trying to keep everyone from getting killed, I got a chance to see firsthand the lightning produced and the constituents released. I'll talk about that. The Earth atmosphere system, I'm going to use the word again, dynamic. Everything is very, very dynamic. Since the time I took early retirement, I've been doing research with teleconnections, severe weather phenomenon. I'm going to give some examples that everything is clearly shown that our dynamic nature of the Earth, from my perspective, is not only driven by electric universe, but is modulated by water and life. Okay, these several programs, you go to the very highest levels. The one thing I want to mention is that key decision makers are just like you and me. They want to do the right thing. They want to take care of their people. But because of that, you're inherently related to the status quo. That means you have to give them a reason as to why it benefits us and them. And you have to keep it simple and straightforward, and how it benefits us. There's nothing wrong with that. That's human nature. That's actually what science is about. When you, all those examples I gave, whenever you connect with the people and say, this benefits us, and you connect with the key decision makers, how it benefits with them, they will always make the correct decision. I have found that. The key is data and well-designed tests. That's why I think the Sapphire project is a step in the right direction. I'm going to give, unfortunately, an example of this is a thing we always have to battle, both individually and collectively. Power and authority corrupts without full transparency and maximum accountability. I'm going to use the example of climate change. If the laws of nature apply to the climate change issue, what they do, why is there all this debate? We are all failing ourselves. Again, when you're moving in the right direction, it's all about your group and tone and temperament. You follow the right standards. Again, science and professionalism, I believe, again, go hand in hand. Okay, so how do you connect with them? Believe it or not, in all the projects I've been involved in, dealing with billions and trillions of dollars, yes, trillions of dollars, it comes down to a concept called the white paper staff summary sheet. These are mechanisms of addressing key issues. They tend to be very short, a few pages, because you're only trying to get the big picture. And then you have tabs, which again are like an order to layer more, with data and more complexity examples. This is where I believe the electric universe needs to go. Okay? It needs to be clear, concise, and logical. What's the meaning of it, what's the benefit, and the impact. We got to connect with the general public and also to society and everyday life. How does this benefit me? This is where I believe the electric universe needs to take all the information we've got, and we need to create a roadmap as to how to get there. Because it's about the humanity aspect. We do things for a reason. Just keep that basic premise in mind. Now I'm going to move into the Earth atmosphere system, and from an atmospheric science perspective. There's three basic concepts. I always tell people science is not that difficult. I really believe that. We make it difficult. Frame of reference. Are we using square pegs and round holes? Scale analysis, the size and shape and the magnitude of the contributions of everything, and differentials. Differentials are related to energy. Okay? And the essence being that temperature, voltage, pressure, you've heard of the Rankine cycle, Carnot cycle. You can also apply from an electromagnetic perspective. That is the key we need to access. I'm going to give three examples with these concepts to show you, offer to you that the Earth is a great laboratory for the electromagnetic universe, the electric universe, that our weather is driven that way. Okay, in one slide, thermodynamics. It's basically three parameters: motion, temperature, and moisture and heat. The only thing that's explicitly handled is motion. Everything else is guessed. Really, it's because of the standard model, which is based upon gravity, by the way, of course. 3 basic approximations you may have heard of: hydrostatic, adiabatic, geostrophic. These are imbalances. These are opportunities I'll talk about. Okay, and here's the 4 concepts. I mean, this is just one word. Enthalpy is essentially intensity. Entropy is evolution. Internal energy is the total energy of the system. Gibbs free energy is timing. That is the way heat and energy are redistributed. Okay, from that we're going to show that the Earth is clearly related to the electric universe. Okay, that was just the atmosphere. Now the thing is that the whole Earth atmosphere system includes the Earth and the oceans as well. And the thing is that the energy budget you hear about in the atmospheric sciences is guessed. Now what we have been doing in climate change is been using air temperature. There's inherent problems with that. It has a much larger error. Heat is a more accurate thing, which includes the oceans and moisture. It is 4 to 6 orders of magnitude greater than air. We only have about 20 years of data for that. And the Earth atmosphere system ideally is what we want to use. That's another 10 to 20 orders of magnitude greater than heat and energy. But there's too many uncertainties. The point being that heat, the frame of reference, is what we should strive for. And that's where we're trying to go to. But again, you're dealing with special interests. Okay, this one slide I just showed very simply. You're probably familiar with this. This is visible light. This is infrared light. The point being, it's estimated. There's the key word. 70 to 75% comes down to the Earth. Again, conventional model. Okay, and then 15 to 30% are transmitted. Everything's reflected. It doesn't really go in the atmosphere anyway. It doesn't go back all the way out to space. We can use this big picture when you look at essence of what goes on in the oceans. The specific heat capacity of the oceans is about 4 times greater than the air. That's basic chemistry. Okay, because of density, you're talking 3 orders of magnitude. The total energy when you take the electromagnetic spectrum and the oceans, almost 4 orders of magnitude just from this picture. I showed you the previous picture because infrared evaporates water. That's another order of magnitude. 5 orders of magnitude more energy, at least. Then you have to come mixing than in the atmosphere. This is why we should be using oceans. And this is why, as I will offer to you, it's going to be so compelling to show that the electric universe is in charge. Okay? This is a very simple diagram. The bottom line, this is the laws of diminishing return for all constituents. Water, carbon dioxide, it's the law of diminishing return. So all these great feedbacks you hear about, in terms of carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, everything, are not applicable. And this is a great tool to show that the electric universe is in charge. This picture is worth 1,000 words. I mentioned those 4 thermodynamic parameters. This is what, and this is dealing with climate change, but we're going to show the electric universe is in charge because this is a homogeneous heating of the entire oceans from 82 to 2011 that was predicted. This is based upon our standard models. This is reality. They don't match up. All 4 thermodynamic parameters are not met here. Enthalpy, entropy, Gibbs free energy, and total energy. Something else is driving this. If you've seen the pictures of carbon dioxide and Mauna Loa and everything, okay, we all know, as I've said before, data is everything. This is data, direct data from a tower in Iowa in the summer. The blue is closest to the ground, the red is highest above the ground. This is 100 feet off the ground. Notice how dynamic the changes are. Well, this day, the parts per million got at sunrise to 450 parts per million. This is 490. The surface, this goes up to 1,000. Again, this is all dynamic. What you don't see, and I don't have time, is that the highest levels in Iowa are related to the summer, not the winter, not what you hear in Mauna Loa. And what drives it is water and life, which you probably didn't know, because that's what the data shows. Also, if you look at these highest values, the temperatures are the coolest. But the greater point is they're calm winds and lightning's always nearby. Is lightning important in the electric universe? Second example. This happens, I just will say, these are flurries that develop on Christmas Day, right after sunrise. There was no thermodynamic driver to this. It basically just appeared homogeneously. Hopefully you can see this is homogeneously. The only thing that changed was the fact the sun came up. There was no other forcing. This is consistent with some of the examples I saw in Chemtrails. The data is telling us something. So I gave you a data point of carbon dioxide, hinting at the natures of the electric universe. I'm giving you a small area. Now we're going to go to a larger area. Scale analysis, differentials, frame of reference, folks. Okay, you've heard of atmospheric and oceanic oscillations. The water and life appear to be keys because they modulate everything. And we now assume a dozen or more of these. The time scales go a couple weeks to decades. There's the dipole behavior. What phenomena relates that? There's a similarity in the behavior to the sun and the linkage of this. The complexity appears to be related again to the Earth atmosphere system, the ocean crust. The point being is that when all this goes about, I'm going to show the granddaddy of them all. You've heard about La Nina, El Nino. That's a small one. This is the Pacific Decadal Oscillation. This is statistics. See how this is a perfect oscillation? Statistically it is, okay? This is correlation coefficient, but I don't want to talk about that because I don't have enough time. Okay? What is driving this? All these oscillations are governed through certain features that suggest a complex interaction of the water, life, and the system. Now, thermodynamically, if the oceans are 5 to 6 orders of magnitude greater, then the changes should come from the bottom up. And that was the thought when I retired from the Air Force. That is not what's happening. The atmospheres go with or lead the changes in the oceans. 5 orders of magnitude, folks, externally driven. Is there a similarity to the sun and the universe? Don't you find this remarkable and compelling? This is huge, folks. There's the unique opportunities of water that appear to drive everything. You're familiar with these unique issues. I believe we need a complete measurement of the voltage potential across the Earth. I believe it will tell us from my past experiences a lot. If anyone has any other suggestions to basically connect the electric nature of the universe and what's happening on the Earth, including life and water, I believe that needs to be pursued. I was glad to hear Gerald basically make the same comment. One of the things that's misunderstood is the number one constituents released from all volcanoes, and I was here trying to keep people alive. Not only my calculations I did, but the local data says 80% of the water, constituents released from Mount Pinatubo were water. And this was at least multiples greater than what they were expecting, because I worked with these people. It's not coming from the oceans. Everything indicates when you use the phase diagram and you relate to the oceans, there's a coincidence between the water pressure thresholds and the transitions on the Earth. Remember, this is indirect measurements based upon certain assumptions. The mantle can be liquid all the way out to 3,000 degrees and up to 100 gigapascals. This is not coincidence, I would offer. Now I'm going to use life. Lightning and all life forms, I've been doing this for 40 years. There's a commonality to every lightning bolt and every plant life. Is that coincidence? I offer not. Animals. Look at the symmetry between, it doesn't matter if you want to use voltage or magnetism. There's a symmetry. Every animal, folks, is symmetrical. Is that coincidence? I offer not. Also, you can use snowflakes. When you see snowflakes, you've seen all the complexities of that. That's dealing with certain parameters. You see the similarities in plants. Is that coincidence? I offer not. Now here's my point. We need to connect with people. The universe is telling us our shapes and behavior are circular. Only electromagnetism represents this. Social advances are correctly based upon increasing use of electricity and magnetism, not gravity, correct? Walk is what's important, not talk. That's telling us that we live in an electric world. Energy, joules, and Newton meter, and watt second. The electric force is 39 orders of magnitude greater. When these few new technologies for powering the Earth come out, and they will come out, I believe, earlier than people think. Okay? We need to be ready. Also, the electric universe, I believe, is a natural fit because it's interactive, decentralizing, and empowering. We want free will. We don't want to be controlled. Gravity, I've offered to you, is controlling, centralized, authoritative, and finite. It conflicts with human behavior. Gives back to connecting with people, folks. We're all human beings. We want a better world for all of us. And finally, the insight to life. No inherent conflicts with belief systems. These are suggested ideas that we need to connect with every form from the average layperson, history clearly shows us, and key decision makers, because we all want a better world. and the truth has no side. Thank you.